height of the tile? I'm thinking like here.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think the bottom is fine. Yeah, I think it's good.
Alright. Waterproof to...
Basically all the way to the toilet. Today we are moving on to finishing the bathroom, which I am super excited about. The first step that I'm working on is waterproofing the shower. So I'm taking this kind of blue goopy paint and painting it all over where the shower will be so that we can then put tile over that and it will be waterproof.
So the last couple of days I've been working in the bathroom without bringing the camera, just because there's been so many tedious, boring things to take care of. But while I've had the camera off, I've managed to trim around the beam, finish up the finish of the beam, as well as put a second coat of mud on the walls. So now once Heather finishes up waterproofing the walls, we can move on to tiling the shower tomorrow, and soon after, painting these walls.
It is really exciting to see the shower coming together. I mean, it is blue right now. Eventually it will not be blue, but it's really, really cool to see the shape forming and to think that this used to be a barn and now we are so close to being able to move in and actually make use of this as our home. It's really exciting.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, I did trim out the window up there. That used to all be
It looks
nasty.
so good. I know, I love it.
But all of these small details just go a long ways to finish up the house. Well, usually there's somewhat of a view off in that direction, but today we are in the thick of just nasty, freezing type rain, and it's a good day to work inside. Last night, late, we came back and finished up the second layer of that waterproofing course in the shower, which means it's time to tile, which, I'm gonna be honest, I've been quite nervous about. Alright, so I'm hoping someone knows the answer to this. Every time I buy a new extension cord here, these are the proper right-sized, I think they're called Schuko connections, but there's always this little knob, I don't know if you can see that, right at the bottom of the outlet that prevents me from using any of my tools. I really have no idea what it's about. I don't know if it's to keep this extension cable for residential use only or what, but as a result, you have to come in and clip the plastic bit out. I'm sure there's a purpose for it, but it prevents me from getting my work done. So I can't imagine our shower pan is actually magically level. So for the first course, I'm slowly peeling back this book to lower the height until it just kisses the top of the tile. And then I'll use that as my level to start the very first row to make sure the rest of everything is level. Page 72. For some reason, with all the things that we have done with this house renovation, including underpinning under stone walls and all kinds of craziness, like, this makes me the most nervous. It's the most precise, most unforgiving, and I've just been in my head too much worrying about it, and I just need to not think about it and just go for it. I don't think I hardly breathed properly through that first row, as that first row is the most crucial to get level, and I was doing it a bit of a non-traditional way. See, the proper way of doing your first row is to set out your laser level and put up a nailer board that you then run the second course first. This is all very confusing. Because of that slope board you have in the shower basin, you need to run your first course very last so that you can cut the angles to match the angle of the slope. And well, see, I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of find a way to cheat past that and to move on, and I think it worked out. But I do think to help me get out of my head, I'm gonna put on a time lapse, put on some music, and just get through these first couple of rows. messy. I have never been very good at this type of work, whether it's drywall or cement or anything that involves mud type mixtures. I just make an absolute disaster. I've lost half the bucket on the floor. I've got my coat or my sweatshirt just covered in it. Got some in my hair. It's just not, it's not a pretty sight. It's all over my shoes. Well, this is just embarrassing. There's massive globs everywhere. I'm stepping in it. I'm covered in it's all over my shoes, but at least we are making substantial progress here. So allow me a brief interruption to tell you about today's video sponsor, Delete Me. I think that we can all agree that the internet is a net positive for our lives these days, but the reality is that if you're participating in it whatsoever, then your information is out there and ripe for the taking. Even if you decide, well, I'm just not going to use social media, then my information won't be public, well, unfortunately, it still is via government websites. The reality, unfortunately, is that there's no turning back, and personal information such as your home address, your cell phone number, even, unfortunately, social security numbers at times can be packaged up and sold off to the highest bidder or anyone who might want to use that information. On the low end, that's how you get all of those annoying spam phone calls or those phishing email scams, but on the extreme, that's how identity theft can happen. But that's where Delete Me comes in, because when you sign up for Delete Me, their privacy experts will go out there, scour the internet, and within 7 days give you a privacy report showing you where all of your personal information is held, and then they'll go to work on your behalf having all of that information removed. But Delete Me takes things one step further as they continually monitor the internet, making sure that additional new information doesn't pop up, and when it does, they go ahead and have that information removed. When we first received our privacy report, it was astonishing how many hundreds of listings of our personal information there were, and with each new privacy report, it's less and less information, but new information does still pop up that they go ahead and take care of. So if you'd like to also take back control of your personal information, you can go to joindeleteme.com/Voyagers, where you can get 20% off, or you can simply use the coupon code Voyagers upon checkout. But with that, thank you so much to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. It's pretty bad, isn't it? I used to help my dad with drywall when I was in high school and college, and it was the same story. I would come home just caked thick with it, and he always would ask me, did you manage to get any on the walls? So while I'm taking a break, I thought I'd answer a couple of questions about the fireplace that is still in progress. It looks finished, but we still have a little bit of work to do. The number one question was, how are we going to protect the wood beam from not rotting in a rainy day like today? And normally so far we've been keeping it covered, but I just kind of forgot today. Number one, this is chestnut, and a very thick chestnut beam. We had chestnut beams in the house that had lasted for hundreds of years. We didn't know quite how long, and I visited a church in, I think it was Florence, where they had a chestnut beam that they thought was 800 years old. So it will last a very long time exposed to the elements. However, we will be covering up the top. We still have to make the stone dome or cover that, I don't know what you call it, that kind of tapers into the chimney, and that will provide a lot of protection against the elements for the beam, as well as I'll put a damp proof course on the top layer. Another question we had is that it feels like the placement of the firebox is a little bit too high, and looking at the camera it kind of looks that way as well. Well, that's because the ground needs to rise up a good 20 centimeters, I think, if I remember correctly. So we are accounting for that in order to account for the slope and the runoff in the water. And then lastly, the biggest question was, why didn't you make this a dual-purpose fireplace to cook? Well, we did. Inside of the chimney, there's a metal rod that you can actually hang down a basket or a pot or something to cook on over the open flame, the same design that we had inside of the house. This entire design was very much taken from the fireplace that we had inside of the house, including the dimensions of the firebox, the pillars on either side. So much of it mimics that design on the inside, which for legal reasons we're no longer allowed to use as an open flame, so we built one outside where we can. But no, the outdoor cooking options are far from being finished. Yes, we will have a pizza oven someday in the future. while and is probably a little bit overkill. So I'm having trouble focusing and sticking just to the work because I keep stepping back and looking at the finished product and thinking like, wow, we are so close to turning this old barn into a beautiful home. And it's really kind of mind-boggling when you get to the finished details. It's like, is it ever going to end? Is it ever going to finish? And then all of a sudden you stand back and you're like, oh, now I can see it. Now I can see the finished product. I can see ourselves living here and moving in very shortly.
These days are running slow. Sunsets and shores far from home. Headlights are shining on the sea. No place on earth I'd rather be. And I could try to
Well, it's very late and I obviously have a lot to clean up. So I'm gonna get cleaned up, go to bed, and I'll show you the finished result in the morning. Well, it was a very late night last night getting all cleaned up, but to see the room cleared out of all of the tools and materials, see the tiles all cleaned up, how they're going to look, could not be more happy. Of course, we still have to grout the tiles, but I think I'm gonna take a break. I think I'm done with this section of the house for now. So obviously we'll have a glass door that comes out like so and kind of boxes in the shower. And then there'll be a wooden ledge, a shelf right here that you can, set candles on and whatever. I have not decided if I want to continue the tile this direction. The walls will be painted white, and I'm starting to think that I'd rather just have more white walls and see any more of this gray tile, but still trying to decide on that. So I think I've mentioned this before, but it's been such a long journey of doing crazy things like digging out that floor and building up the foundation and all the digging and stonework that we've done. And you just wonder sometimes, like, will we ever get there? And a day like today of tiling a shower inside of what was an old barn is a real turning point. Like, this is going to be a beautiful home. It's an astonishing thing to me, and it fills me with so much gratitude after going through so much the last 2 years and getting to this point where it's going to be finished very, very soon. And primarily, I'm filled with gratitude for you for joining us and spending a portion of your day. Like, we would not be here without your support. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining us once a week and spending a little bit of time with us. Like, your support means the world to us. I'm not very good with words, but I just wanted to say thank you and express some sort of gratitude, because I know so many of you have been here from the very first episode when we unlocked those doors and started work. And I know it seemed crazy of would we ever get here, but you had faith that we would get this far. So thank you very much. I feel like it's starting to sound like the end. No, it's not the end. There's still so much more to go. And in fact, I'm looking forward to getting through and finishing up the internal of the house so that we can get to the exciting projects outside. That's where I want to work. But anyways, I'll stop rambling. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. It's a great free way to help support us. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.